Hi everyone, welcome to my garden and to Garden Grown. And in today's video, I'm going to talk about two methods that have worked for me to overwinter my geraniums. But first, I want to talk about the two different types of geraniums. The first type is the hardy geranium. This is hardy down to a zone 3, so very cold tolerant. It typically grows in like a ground cover mass mounded shape and multiplies over the years if you divide it and replant it. It has bright blue blooms and is really a profuse bloomer throughout the season. The second type of geranium are these types of geraniums. These are technically tropical plants. These are zonal and seed geraniums, the two different varieties, and they are only hardy down to a zone 10. So they definitely need to be taken inside and protected over winter. Now, the two different methods I'll be showing you today to preserve and store these over winter to guarantee the same plant next season and an even larger plant next season is simply to take this plant inside as it is and treat it as a house plant. And then the other method I'll be showing you is to basically preserve the root and put it in a brown paper bag. So the first method I'm going to do is the actual take it in as a house plant method. And I'm going to be cutting back the plant by about a third just to kind of size control it, clean up any of the dead blooms and dead leaves that have started to die off due to some of the light frosts that we've had so far. So all you need for this project is a brown paper bag or a garbage bag, a pair of clippers, and I'm going to go ahead and start cleaning this plant up and get it ready to bring inside.
The biggest advantage for me with this method is that I get to enjoy blooms year-round in the house, even in the darkest, coldest months of the winter. So that's always a plus. The downside of this method is that it requires space and light. So all things to consider when bringing in the geraniums. Maybe you can do a combination of both of the methods, which is what I'm going to be doing. That way I get to enjoy some blooms, but I get to preserve all my geraniums at the same time.
So here I am really focusing on getting rid of these dead leaves and dead foliage and any diseased looking branches. Also checking for insects, things that have made their way to make a home here over the winter. I don't want to bring those inside. And like I said, I'm cutting this back by about a third just to size control it. Geraniums grow very quickly if watered and treated well. So I'm not concerned about damaging this plant whatsoever. So here you can see these blooms have really, the foliage has really taken off and the blooms are still blooming. But I'm just going to go ahead and snip these off. Okay, now that I have it about the size that I would like to keep it to bring it indoors, I am going to go ahead and snip off some of these dead blooms. These here are spent blooms, and I'm just going to follow the stalk, the stem, all the way down to where it meets at the junction and snip it right on off. And the cool thing about these geraniums, and I'll actually put some video up on the screen of last winter, I believe it was March. These will continue to bloom indoors if exposed to the correct light. They bloomed so profusely. I actually had these under my grow lights last winter, and they were a fun project to do in the dead of winter when it was freezing. So that's my hope for this winter as well. I love this bright red color. I mean, these really balloon up so nicely into like the size of tennis balls, if not bigger. I think this is ready to go inside. I am going to just, again, check the soil, really make sure there aren't any critters. I can apply an insecticide when I go inside, and I will likely do that. And basically, it's like a drop of dish soap and water as I water it in, and that should kill off any larvae or any type of eggs that might have found their way into the soil, and that should kind of level set it to be ready to bring inside. So this is now my new house plant for the winter. So this is method number 1. Okay, so on to method number two. Method number two is basically store in a bag or store in a box method. This method is, I believe, like an age-old method that grandmothers and great-grandmothers used back when root cellars were pretty common in houses where basements were kept pretty cool. And essentially the method is to cut off all the foliage.
And dig out the root ball. You can see here I've taken the plant out. I am shaking away all the dirt. You can see the root ball is pretty much healthy and intact. And I'm going to get as much dirt away from that root ball as possible.
Okay, so I actually think this is pretty good to set in the bag now. I've cut away most of the foliage here, and this will naturally dry out in the bag. And as you can see, the root ball is very healthy. It looks great. And I'm just going to go and lay this down like this in the bag. If there are many geraniums that you're overwintering with this method, you can stack them. So that way one side of the plant isn't crushing everything, but simply stack them like this and stack them like that and so forth, which is what I will be doing. So I'm going to go and place this in the bag. And then from here, when I have all my geraniums cut and prepared, I am simply going to roll down the bag, close it, and place it into a corner of my basement. I will check on it periodically just to see how they're doing, maybe shake off more of the dirt. If there's any, rotting things, I will go ahead and cut those away. Or if things look especially dry, I might water them a little bit, but mostly I should just be able to leave them alone. And then come spring, I can go ahead and pot them up into some potting soil, expose them to light, and they will begin to grow again. And I'll have a huge plant again to work with next season. So that's going to do it for today. I hope you found this video helpful and that you can bring in your geraniums using either one of these methods. Stay tuned next week for part 2 of my overwintering series. I'm going to be bringing in all of my coleus and saving them for next season. So stay tuned and I'll see you next time. Bye.